Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm in a hurry, so I'll speak very fast, and notifications. Okay. Anyway, today I'm gonna continue down my Death Grips album review series, where I review Death Grips album, and today I'm gonna do a review on Death Grips, The Powers That Be. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Death Grips is an experimental hip-hop band, a trio from Sacramento, California, with screamy, shouty vocalist MC Ride, whose real name is Stefan Burnett. We have drummer Zach Hill, he's insane, and we also have Andy Morin, who's the sound engineer of the band. And early on in the decade, they have already started dropping album after album, starting off with the EP that they dropped, and it is followed up with a full-length mixtape, Ex-Military, which is really raw, rough, wild, and very creatively sampled. And then immediately in the year 2012, they dropped The Money Store, a classic because of how iconic it is. It's so violent, so aggressive, so raw, and in your face. It's a big fuck you to the world. And then in the same year, they dropped No Love Deep Web, leaving their record label, that is Epic Records, putting a literal penis on the album cover, but instead, the music on No Love Deep Web is a little more quiet, with edgier lyrics, but flashier, glitchier beats, and amazingly versatile flows. And then in the next year, they dropped another album titled Government Plates, and it is easily their most abstract, choppy, glitchy album yet, with beats being looped on over and over again, and these very creative but also minimalistic flows by Stefan Burnett, aka MC Ride. And then they dropped the first half of The Powers That Be, and between dropping the first half of The Powers That Be and the second half, which is Jenny Death, they also dropped Fashion Week, which is basically an instrumental album teasing towards the release of Jenny Death. And sometime after Fashion Week, they suddenly decided to break up. And that's actually kind of crazy, because Death Grips is probably my favorite band of the 2010s, and to hear the news that they're breaking up is very heartbreaking and actually concerning. But not too long after the breakup, they posted it on their Facebook page that they might make more. So, it's Death Grips. It's a pretty unpredictable band. So yes, before I go into The Powers That Be, I want to talk about Fashion Week a little bit. It's a full-on instrumental album. I don't think MC Ride contributed any vocals to this. I think MC Ride kind of sat in the back seat. Maybe MC Ride produced a couple of beats. I don't know. Maybe MC Ride performed a couple of instruments, maybe. I don't know, but I think the album is okay. It's not great, however. It's not that good either, because it is kind of weird and a little unnatural to see Death Grips trying to create something with no aggression whatsoever. The entire album is packed with these twittery, glitchy, abrasive beats and synths and keys, and yeah, Fashion Week is a 7 out of 10. But going back to the first half of The Powers That Be, this is easily their most abstract and choppy album, period. Even more abstract and choppy than Government Plates. It's just so incomprehensible, so unintelligible, so unrecognizable. Everything's so chopped up, and everything's so glitchy. In fact, they sampled Björk on the entire album. Every single track, almost every single moment, they sampled Björk's vocals, chopped it up, compressed it, distorted it into this weird sound, and then used it to build up songs. And what's really different between the first half of The Powers That Be and Government Plates is that this album relies less on these, sound effects and versatile flows, but with more organic drum beats, so the album gives off an even weirder vibe, almost. And yeah, it's safe to say that the first half of The Powers That Be is easily the most inaccessible Death Grips album ever. It's just so weird. There's nothing catchy about it, and we also see Death Grips going crazier, going more experimental, and it's actually really interesting. And it takes a long time to enjoy this album. It takes a very, very, very long time. I listened to the first half for so many times in order to enjoy it, and yes, I do enjoy it. Spoiler alert. So the album starts off with Up My Sleeves, starting off with the vocal samples, doors and the windows, on. Motion on, and then we have MC Ride chanting up my sleeves, up my sleeves, up my sleeves, up my sleeves, and the beats just slowly builds up into this very wild, eerie, ear-piercing beat that sounds like we're being taken to the edge of a very tall cliff and we're about to fall off, but not really, not yet. So it's this very crazy, otherworldly beginning for the album. It leaves such a strong impression. And we have so many lyrics dealing with death and mortality. We have MC Rai talking about him visiting his mother's grave. And I don't know if he's being real about it or being figurative about it. But either way, it's painfully intense. And then we have lyrics like, I'll take my life as a captain. And then we also have lyrics like, quench my hearse. Wow. Wow, these lyrics are sick as fuck. And the first half gets so intense and wild, and then suddenly it just breaks into this sea of bubbly Björk samples, just bubbling non-stop. It's like boiling water, and it's just really weird and schizophrenic and glitchy. It's just spectacular, in my opinion. Spectacular. An artistic masterpiece indeed. And that also applies for the rest of the album. And I'm giving Up My Sleeves 10 to a 9 out of 10. Maybe almost a 10, but I'm just gonna give it a 9 for safety measures. But the next track is definitely a 10 out of 10. It's titled Billy Not Really, and oh my gosh, it is, well, technically the catchiest track on the entire first half. This vocal samples being chopped up are way more bubbly and flowery and fun and accessible. And we have MC Ride going, oh why me, oh why me, oh why me in the beginning, and it's actually pretty catchy. In fact, MC Ride's flows on this track, in the verses, the bridge, the choruses, and all the other parts of the song, they are all really catchy and creative. And then we get some woodwinds, well, sound effects that sound almost like woodwinds going up and down, and it's actually really intriguing, and they sound really intriguing. Bam, 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 bam. And we have the first verse of the track where every line has the word palm in it. Bronze my palm now, all brown palm now. This is my medium, won't come near me, it's some media. She scares me, oh my bony. No, Billy, not really. The chorus is just so addictive. It's so mind-numbingly catchy, and also weird and almost cathartic, but not in a very angry sense, but in a very weird, glitchy, schizophrenic, the world around you crumbling apart kind of sense. And it's really mind-blowingly good. The chorus is it's ingenious. And then towards the end of the track, we just have these, it just suddenly breaks into this very quiet, raw, simple beat where MC Ride suddenly goes in front of the microphone and raps really quickly, really intimately, and damn. This track is a 10 out of 10. And then up next we have Black Quarterback. I'm so black quarterback, parallel albino, black quarterback. It's just so fun. Such a banger. We have some cute and lively vocal samples of Björk in the back with some braggadocious performances, and the chorus is such a banger. It hits really hard, and after the chorus we have MC Ride going, Eddie, baby, Eddie's crazy, cadabra, abrogate me. And then we get 2 layers of MC Ride just babbling on top of one another, and it just sounds really awesome. And damn, I have to give this track a 9 out of 10 as well. And then up next we have Say Hey Kid, which is an even weirder track in my opinion. It first starts off with some jumpy ping-pongy drum beats, and this song is about mediocrity. It's the song about mainstream mentality and how if one person does this thing, 2 other person do that, and then 4 other person does that, and then blah 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 blah, whatever. And yeah, it's another crazy ass song that really needs time to be enjoyable, especially when it hits the bridge and it sounds like these keys just slowly being hit in a way it sounds like it's a warning sign. It's really creepy, really eerie, and MC Ride starts to rap in almost like a spoken word fashion, and it's so slow and it's so dragged on. It's really inaccessible, but as time goes by, I really appreciate the aesthetics of this track. And MC Ride going, "Don't you, Odie, come play dead." It's just so... He just sounds so cynical on this track. And then we hit the chorus where it just builds up the tension, where it sounds like a motorcycle just riling its engine up, about to blast off, and it's just MC Ride saying, "Say hey kid, say hey kid, say hey kid, hey kid, come play dead." And it's just so satisfying as well. I'm giving Say Hey Kid a 9 out of 10. And then up next we have A Sad Cum BB, and it's easily the weirdest Death Grip song ever, period. We get some weird descending vocals and some chopped up MC Ride screams in the beginning. That's just so wild and weird and whack up. And then suddenly we transition into this robotic voice where it says, "Wasting time feels good, wasting time feels good." And then it just blasts off into this cacophony of sound effects just being abused non-stop, being spammed. It's torturous, but in a really strange way. And it's not bad, to be honest. It's not bad. I love the aesthetics of it. I guess it's just not really all that spectacular of a track. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I realize that I'm running out of time here. Then we have the track Fuck Me Out. Fuck me out. And it's getting even more showy and weird and yeah, the song is about sex, but in a really dark and graphic and twisted and sinister way. It's intense. It's really intense. We get some jittery beats and MC Ride talking very quietly, but also in a very terrifying way. He's acting so sinister on this track. And we have MC Ride's flow being very chopped up. Fuck me out. Can't do shit now. And we have the Björk samples and the middle just bursting and glitching in the middle. It's just, yeah, another really special track in my opinion. It's another 8 out of 10 for me. And then up next we have Voila. Boom, ba, 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 boom, boom, boom. Voila. And yeah, the drum beats on this thing is very slidey, very smooth, and it's very clear for some reason, which is very rare for Death Grips. And we have MC Ride going, "Oh, oh, oh," and this sound effect, this "oh" sound effect is being looped over and over and over again on this track, but in a really tasteful way. And overall, this song is just, yeah, it's just another really special track from Death Grips. I've never heard something like that from the band and from any band ever in the world like this. Yeah, and then we have this shout, screeching sound effect in the middle, and I enjoy it a lot. It's a 9 out of 10. And the first half stops and ends with the track Big Dipper, Big Dipper, Big Dipper, Big Dipper. In the beginning, it sounds like some woodwinds being abused and compressed, and then we get some constant skippy beat constructed with some more Björk vocals. And yeah, this song is just so catchy, it's just so raw, and just so snappy. It's really awesome, actually. And we have MC Ride in the verses going, "I'm a bullshitter, I'm a shitty stripper, I'm a something something, I'm a something something," and it's actually giving the track a lot of personality, and the lyrics, they are just so special. And at the end, it just sounds like deathgrips.exe had stopped working, and it's just this crazy cacophony of Björk vocals being bloomed like flowers, except they're growing super fast, exponentially. It's both beautiful and unsettling. And yes, the first half is magnificent. My favorite track here is Billy Not Really, and my least favorite, kind of have to give it to Have a Sad Cum BB, and I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Yes, a 9. However, we move on to the second half, and it's been such a long wait for the second half of the album. All the Death Grips fans had been biting their nails waiting for this album. There had been a lot of hype surrounding the release of the second half, and therefore we have this chant, this rally chant, Jenny Death When. In fact, all the tracks on Fashion Week are named after Jenny Death When. In a way, it's like Runway J, Runway E, Runway N, Runway N, Runway Y, and that's wow. And yes, it's titled Jenny Death, and the second half is nothing like the first half. It's pretty much the opposite. It's super raw, super aggressive, super rocky. In fact, this is more like a rock album than an actual rap album, where the band basically dabbles into hardcore punk music in the most fiery and aggressive and abrasive way possible. And oh man, I just can't explain how much I love this album. If this album is an individual album from Death Grips, and if some of the best tracks from the first half ends up here, and some of the other best tracks from the band ends up on the album, this album might potentially be my favorite album ever, period, because it's just so fucking good. And damn, this album really lived up to its hype. The album starts off with I Break Mirrors with My Face in the United States, and it's, first of all, amazing song title. Second of all, it's such a wild, busy, bustly, upfront, powerful opener for the album. It's just super crazy with these cyberpunk guitars in the back and some wild, constantly spamming drum beats from Zach Hill and MC Rise screaming on top of his lungs, except his vocals take kind of a backseat on this track for some reason, where his vocals echo a little bit. But yeah, I just really like the echoey vocals, the nutty drums, and the song's overall texture is just leaving such a strong first impression. And MC Ride screaming, I don't care about real life! I don't care about real life! Yeah, it's awesome. It's a 10 out of 10. Hell yeah. And then up next we have Inanimate Sensation. Oh my gosh. At first we get some ascending screams. That's just ascending slowly. And it sounds totally fucking insane. And we get some monstrous beats that's just terrorizing the entire fucking world. And it's just so wild, so crazy, so powerful, so empowering. And we get MC Ride just shouting like it's his last time in Animate Sensation. And the song overall is about fake feelings on the internet, and I've never heard a band talk about the internet in such a violent way ever. It's so satisfying yet disturbing. It's crazy. And after these very hard-hitting verses, suddenly we get some elevator sound effects where it blings and clings, and then we get this disembodying weird bridge where MC Ride kind of talks quietly with this, echoey, disembodying vocals, and then it just ends with "Gah!" where we wake up from that weird acid dream again, and we return to the very violent, ascending screams again, and then we hit the chorus. Well, can I say chorus? Well, technically it is the chorus, where MC Rock just goes, blown out bass! And it's so satisfying. It's like MC Ride is beating my eardrums and beating my brains. Even at the end, MC Ride says that he likes his iPod more than fucking in order to reinforce that internet message. And yes, this song is super cutting edge, super futuristic, it's super wild, and I love it, love it, love it, love it. Super blood pumping, super adrenaline pumping. And then we have the track Turned Off, which is basically equally as fun, electrifying. We get some really glitzy, burnt out guitars that are super compressed in the beginning, and also the drums, same for the drums, and then we get some ascending guitar chords which builds up the verses, and it's getting more and more tense, it's getting more and more tense, and then we get the very famous Death Grip sample, it's death, 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 and damn, that moment gives me a lot of goosebumps because I know the chaos that is about to come, and we get some crazy, monstrous, terrorizing guitars. It's just so satisfying to see this guitar riff just tearing off every single house in the world. Every single building is just obliterated. It's satisfying as fuck. And you know, and as the song progresses, the guitar riffs get slower, draggier, muddier, and it's just such a freakish mutant. It's insane. And the lyrics, they are really special as well. And one of the lines in the beginning where MC Ride talks about how he smokes cigarettes in his shower, and when it gets wet, he lights another one. That line's really special. And yeah, the energy level of this track, off the roof. This track is another 10 out of 10. Hell yeah. And up next we have Why a Bitch Gotta Lie, which is also just as blood pumping and insane. We get some weird woodwinds in the beginning where it sort of ascends, and we get some really wild and whack spacey beats after these woodwinds. It's just like we're being launched into space and all these planets are whooshing by us. And then we get these super stoic but also wild and whack guitar riffs, and it just breaks into this the guitar riff and the wild insane drums and MC Ride going wah bitch get la, wah bitch get la, wah bitch get la, wah bitch get la. It's just so insane. And then after that we get some robotic vocals that's just following the beat along very smoothly, and it's kind of danceable and actually almost catchy. And later on the track, Death Grips kind of say, try and tame me, because they're just so animalistic, so beastly. And overall, this track is just such an amazing blend of rap music, rock music, and electronic music together. And especially for the ending where it all glitches out, it's beautiful and powerful and empowering. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 as well. Up next, we have the track Psst, Psst, where it's the standout track from Jenny Death because of how weird and glitzy glossy it is. In fact, it reminds me of one of the tracks from No Love Deep Web. We get some air horn fizzy beats and some some more MC Ride shouting, but instead this track is way more danceable and catchy actually, and almost twerk worthy, and it's such a banger. It's kind of crazy. We have the drop of the track where the beat drops. Have a sad cum baby, bam, 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 bam. It's just so catchy, so dance-alongable, and yet it's so mutinous, so freakish. It's awesome. And in the chorus, MC Ride talks about pissing on somebody's face, and it's almost kind of funny. I also really like the bleepy bloopy keys and the very quiet ending. All very tasteful, also a 10 out of 10. And then we hit the title track, Wow, which is super loud, super thunderous, plums into the table, ouch. And it's so blown out, it's so burnt out. And MC Ride screaming in the beginning, I can't know what I'm about to do, is just warning us of the madness that is about to come. And it's just so unapologetic, it's so freakish, it's so explosive. But yet, amongst the very violent beats that's just climbing up and sliding down, it builds this quiet atmosphere for the verses as well, and it's just really ingenious, and I'm giving it a 9 to a 10 out of 10. Next page. Beyond Alive. Super underrated track. I have no idea why there are a lot of Death Grips fans that don't enjoy this track. For me, this is one of my favorite Death Grips track off of this album. Like many other tracks on Jenny Death, at first we get some spicy, fiery guitars and MC Ride screaming and shouty, and then we hit the chorus where it just builds up such potential, energy, such tension. It's unnerving, yet you know something satisfying is about to hit you in the fucking face. And we get some really raw guitars in the back. And then we get MC Ride. Run, people, you know who you are. Cowards, we know what you are. And then we hit the chorus. I'm beyond alive. So wild, so spicy, so energetic, so I want to rip my skin apart. And then we have the bridge that just flies so smoothly. Fuck I haves, all I need. And we get some slicey, crispy guitars in the back. It's just awesome. The chorus hits hard. It's so fiery, powerful, and visceral. It's a 10 out of 10. And then we have Centuries of Damn, which is a bit of a detour track with some sun-burned guitars that sound so uplifting for some reason. It sounds like sun beating down on my skin. It literally sounds like that. And we have MC Ride going, fuck the sun. It's almost like swans saying goddamn the sun. Yeah, it reminds me of swans a little bit. Anyway, we get some drony, loud, blaring eardrums, bursting guitars, and some raspy, cracked vocals from MC Ride. It's just spectacular, really tasteful, even though not as amazing and as powerful as other tracks on the album. I still enjoy it a lot. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. And then we have On GP, which is arguably my favorite song of the entire fucking decade so far. But really, we all know that at the end of the decade, it's probably gonna end up as my absolute favorite. It's easily the most depressing and empowering track from Death Grips ever. It's so depressing. It reaches into your soul. It's... Wow, it's already 1:30 p.m. I need to leave ASAP. Yeah, anyway, damn. At the beginning, we get some descending guitars, dun 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 dun, and it feels like all the events of my life going past by me through the two sides of my eyesight, and it just gives me all these goosebumps. And we have MC Ride screaming and shouting on top of his lungs like it's his last time, like he's performing his last song ever. It's really wild, really loud, really expressive, but in that wildness and in that aggression, we can hear this pain and agony that MC Ride is exhibiting on this track. And we get some consistent drums as well that's constantly banging and bombing, and it just hits you, man. It hits you. And then after that, we get some really goosebumps-inducing, spine-chilling guitar solo. Dun 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 dun. And then it stops, and it suddenly breaks into this very dark, lonely, and sad section where we only hear these organs sort of sizzling in the back, and it's so alienating, so isolating all of a sudden. And I use the word dark, and I don't usually use the word dark all that often. Like, it's a word that holds a lot to me, okay? It holds a lot of weight. So when I say this track is dark, I mean it. It's just this otherworldly, this tunnel, and it's like going through a tunnel of lights. It's, oh man. And after that, Death Grips, they go back up again, rising back up into aggression and triumph, and it's just so empowering, and we get the wild guitars again, and after that we hit the second low, and it builds up again for the third time, and it's a roller coaster of emotions indeed. And we also have some really frightening lyrics where MC Ride talks about 3:30 a.m. in the morning, there's death on his porch, and that death says, "It's been a pleasure, Stefan," And this song is about suicide. This song is about suicide, but in the most triumphant way and empowering way possible. It's spine-chilling. And I also really like the minimalistic music video that's attached to it, and it's definitely a 10 out of 10. Then the album just ends off with Death Grips 2.0, which is this really oddly out-of-place track on the track listing. It's this techno-influenced track where they spam all these sound effects and weird electronic swooshes here and there, and it doesn't feel like a very suitable closer for Jenny Death and the album in general. But still, I feel like this is more of a message than a song. It's more like a to be continued kind of song. It does have that tone to it, and it sounds like Death Grips 2.0 is on the way, like they're about to transition into Death Grips 2.0, and this is basically a teaser. And yeah, structurally, it's a pretty genius track. Musically, not so. But still, the entire album, Jenny Death, and the entire album, The Powers That Be, is just such a wild, ambitious, and explosive masterpiece from Death Grips. Very artistic, the first half being very glitchy and abstract, and it's such a bold statement from Death Grips. And the second half, it's just, oh man, the second half it is really what makes this album one of my favorite albums of all time. And you know, even though quality-wise, this album is not a 10 out of 10, but I feel like it would be kinda disrespectful to not give a 10 out of 10 for the album. Yes, and my favorite track on Jenny Death is on GP, and my least favorite is the closer. So, have you heard Death Grips, The Powers That Be from 1 to 10? How much it's rated? Like if you like it, hate it, or hate it, and subscribe if you want more. I need to go. Bye.